Hey, Lord of the Rings fans, it's your boy, Knew Better, Do Better. This is the Voices of Arda podcast, and I am here today with a special co-host, Belmont, a.k.a. P, whichever one you like to be called.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. But we are in New Hampshire. We are at Studio Lab, a very, very special place where a lot of shit gets done. Stuff gets done here. Now, this is an important podcast because this is going to be the first podcast of 2026. I want to give a quick shout out to our true host, Kali Cosplay. This guy is nobody. No, I'm just joking.
No. I pale in comparison to the great Callie cosplay.
No, we definitely want to shout Callie out. She is invaluable. Like, we love her. We miss you. You know what I mean? She got some stuff going on, so we're going to let her take care of it. But while we're here, we're going to record this podcast. And I got to say, we kind of are showing Callie up because today's guests are legends, monumental. We got the one, the only, the professor, Corey Olsen in the building.
And we have sound effects.
Yeah, we got sound effects. And alongside Corey Olsen, we have Dr. Maggie Parke, the boss. We got sound effects in here. This is crazy right now. So today we're gonna be just going over some things. We know you have a lot of ventures going on. Yeah. I'm a part of some of them, by the way. You guys want to follow and make sure you sign up. And we want to talk about what's going on with the media that's coming out for the Lord of the Rings. There's so much happening, 2026, 2027. So let's jump right into it. This is a free-flowing podcast. If you guys, I'm not sure how many podcasts you guys have done. But
have you heard this guy?
He's been on a few. All right, so we're going to naturally talk. And we're going to make it happen now.
I mean, I feel like our show alone is at 120 episodes. And it is a baby.
Excuse me.
It is a baby in the world of Corey Olsen's podcast.
Excuse me. Oh, my gosh. All right,
so the presence of greatness.
Well, this is true. So, how you doing? How you guys doing today? How you feeling?
Yeah, awesome. Really good.
Awesome. So happy to join you guys today.
Thank you so much, and we appreciate you jumping on. We know you're a very busy guy.
Oh, it's a lot of fun.
All right, so we heard about a very special show, and we've seen the episodes. I'm not sure if everybody out there knows about it, but you guys have your own show called Rings and Realms, right?
Yeah.
We do, and it started here at Studio Labs.
That's right, yeah. So basically the idea was we wanted to do, so when Rings of Power came out, we wanted to do analysis. One of the things, I have to admit, I was really, really sick of just like the auto-hate that was happening with Rings of Power, especially before anyone had ever seen anything.
People's favorite hobby.
Everyone was like convinced it was going to be horrible before they even saw it. So one of the things that Maggie and I set out to do was not evaluate it, not react to it. But to analyze it, right? Okay. Sit down and say, okay, we want to actually think through what are they doing on the show, like as a work of art itself, right? The show, and to be thinking about its relationship with Tolkien, but just to be kind of calmly thinking about that.
What are we actually
and doing some nuanced analysis instead of just reaction. That was our primary goal for Rings and Realms.
And we wanted to do it for each other, just like we wanted to be able to discuss this without getting in a fight with anybody. But it kind of naturally created a lovely community of a safe space to encounter Tolkien adaptations. So Rings and Realms started with Rings of Power and ended up coming to Studio Lab because the studio director here is a huge fan. And they wanted to geek out with us.
That's awesome.
Yeah, right? I mean, serendipity.
Yeah, I think if you're going to evaluate something, you do it fairly, not too far one way, not too far the other way. Hey, let's just look at this objectively and talk about it, comparatively and how they execute things. And, you don't have to dog everything. Right. You don't have to super praise everything. You know what I mean?
Well,
I'm somebody who, I'm sorry,
no, please, no.
I'm somebody who keeps, things pretty positive, but when something's not good, I'm like, no, that part right there is trash, Right. So I think that's the way to go about it. But a lot of people try to garner views by just being hateful, and it's like, you don't have to do that.
No, you don't. And I'm actually a big fan. I've seen almost every episode at this point, and I'm one of those people, if anyone knows who I am, I don't even call myself a lore master. I would say I'm more of a Tolkien historian who enjoys reading the books and doing comparative stuff. He's definitely a lore
master.
And yeah, right. But
that's kind of like the long way of saying lore master.
I know, right? Exactly.
No, not at all. But the point being is that, like, you're right about that. We need to foster a space that allows for opinions to exist. And not have like one that trumps any others.
Well, and the other nice thing with like this was that opinion still exists. Like we never steered away from that. But if there was something that really made my hackles go up and go, oh no, we'd be investigating. Why? What were they
Right.
trying to do? What do we see happening?
Why did they do
here?
that? You know,
Yeah,
right,
like what's the
exactly.
thought
Like,
process
what's
that
going-
might have
even if-
explained this?
Even if we don't like it, even if there are things that you don't like, nevertheless, like, what are they trying to do?
And
Like,
there's
what's
a lot of
actually
those.
happening? Because it's so easy when your feelings pick up, right, and you have some negative reaction to something, you just automatically stop thinking
Yeah.
often, right? So like, okay, right, great, all right. Given that I hated that, nevertheless, what were they doing? How does it work? What's going on there? And so really kind of focusing on that nuance of analysis, which has been something, and of course then the opportunity, as Maggie said, to be here at Studio Lab, with the excitement of the team here to get involved in that. We ended up using this incredible facility. So they've got this amazing digital wall and 3D filming capability and like robot cams and everything.
Basically, like how they filmed The Mandalorian in
I
that
was about to say
360
the same
screen.
thing.
That's
Yeah.
what we had
It's
here.
exactly what they have here.
And they basically needed a space where they could practice some techniques that wasn't a paying client. So we were like guinea pigs that were very happy to be tested
exactly.
upon.
They're like,
Yeah.
we experiment with stuff, and we're like, yes.
Yep.
You're eating well,
Yeah.
yeah.
So if you watch Rings and Realms, you will see the production value is insane.
Off the charts.
Off
So
the
ridiculous.
charts.
And I've been lucky enough to work with you guys, and thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of Signum. And I've been coming here. We've been doing the Signum Collaboratory. Now this is a great way to segue into that
I know,
because
right?
we want to do some promotion for Signum Collaboratory.
We do.
You guys have got to come and join the Signum Collaboratory.
Yeah.
It's a very unique, wonderful, high quality experience of getting not only Tolkien lore, but we have experts on a great many things that come and they can showcase their talents in a professional setting in a real studio and get that content out there.
Absolutely.
And you can be a part of it because we have something called the Creator Circle, where you can literally every month have meetings with the creators. You can put your input in.
And you have two right here. These guys have circles every month.
Exactly.
You could be a part of the background process. Where else can you can't go on Netflix and be like, hey, I want to be a part of making the finale for Stranger Things. They're not
Right.
going to listen to nothing
Somebody
you're
people
saying.
would love that.
I know, right? Please.
But you can be a part of that by being a part of these creative circles that we have,
Yeah, that was the idea with the collaboratory. So it was kind of like a two-step idea, right? The first step was, hey, let's get together. We've got a whole bunch of great, artists and writers, and so we've got the Signum University Press, we've got Signum Studios, we've got people giving talks, we've got people teaching classes, right? So we got all this content of various kinds being created, right, by awesome, professional, really great people. And so the very first core idea of the collaboratory was this is a content area. We want to encourage and enable people to be able to come together and present their stuff, right, and a place where people can read that stuff. So on its simplest level, the collaboratory is a content subscription, right? A subscription platform. But as you're just pointing out, then the next really exciting idea is to say, hey, what if we basically totally reinvent the publishing thing? Instead of just seeing us as publishers being, putting content out there, right, for subscription or for sale, what if we actually also made this a collaborative environment? So that's why the cute name of the collaboratory, because it's the place where work happens and where people are involved in the work, where viewers and readers. So you can do this. You can subscribe to the circles of authors. Like if there's, so like for instance, Jeff LaSala is writing the Silmarillion Primer, which is an awesome book. He did a web series on the Silmarillion Primer years ago, which was really, really popular. And he's developed that into a full book on the Silmarillion. So cool. And he's had a circle of people who have been meeting with him every month now for a couple of years as he's been finalizing and going through, and they've been talking through every chapter with him as he go. I'm writing a book, Exploring the Lord of the Rings. I wrote my Exploring the Hobbit book years ago. I'm writing a series of Exploring the Lord of the Rings books. It's going to be like 6 volumes.
Authors here, just authors.
I know,
But
right?
if you
I've
wanna
actually
get
read
in-
his first Hobbit book.
But if you want to get in, like while he's drafting it, you join the circle.
Yeah, so,
he'll
like,
release a chapter to his circle.
Yeah, I basically
to give
like
him feedback.
send out rough drafts to my circle people, and they'll give me comments. We'll meet and talk about it. And I've there's been a bunch of things. I have like a bunch of footnotes and stuff with like, this was suggested by like this person in my circle and everything. So it really is a really fun collaborative project. And then, as you say, Willie, we got video projects too, where you're involved with that. So we've got the stuff. We were so excited to bring you in, so privileged, really,
appreciate it,
to bring you in and be able to give you the opportunity to come here to Studio Lab and make some premium videos. We got stuff that you and I are doing together. We got stuff that you're doing on your own. I got stuff that you and Pete were recording this morning. All these different video series, and there too, again, people who are watching it, they can be, and there. Maggie, this is your area in Signum Studios. The people have been even more interactive with the process, because of course it's one thing for me to write a book chapter and be like, hey y'all, here's the rough draft, I'm going to revise it, let me know what you think, right? It's a totally different thing to be like, well, here's the raw footage, but now we've got to add art, and now we've got to add other things.
And how much that changes. So so all of this came from our own kind of itchy desire to see more of the process and have the process be a little bit more messy and creative. Like, so much, I think, of academia and in film industry happens behind this wall of secrecy, right? Like, nobody understands it. And with academia, you have to always try to be professional and everything. And with film, it's like, I have all the power, I have all the secrets. We don't really want to do that. Like, let's actually just figure it out together.
Yeah, figure it out together. People's likes, people dislike. They can say,
totally.
"Hey, I don't think that really worked. Why don't you try this?" You know.
And like this week of filming is such a great experience of that. So like, I'm director of studios, and we're putting together these programs that we started 2 years ago, right? Like our first filming of some of your programs for this New Bedification of the Silmarillion, where New Beda is taking the Silmarillion and doing it in 2 to 5 minute chunks, in a way that only he can explain it.
I break it down in my own style. You dig? You know what I'm saying?
Do better version, adaptation.
And then these guys are doing A Song of Words. So A Song of Words is comparing a Tolkien poem with a hip-hop song. And the first time we recorded that was 18 months ago. And that footage is great. That footage is a lot of fun. But now it kind of feels like a pilot, because we've grown so much as a studio and we've grown so much with our community. We're looking back at that footage going, you know what, we can do that better.
Let's revamp it. Let's do it. Let's make it more, concise and straightforward. And it's even in the studio, just the notes that I get from Maggie and I get from Corey and Belmont even being here, just be more yourself. Just be, that's what the people want to see. So we're breaking it down. So we have a Song of Words with me and Corey, and then, we brought Belmont up. He is, first of all, not only is he an amazing creator, but he's one of my best friends in the Tolkien space, great human being. So shout out to Belmont. But I brought him up here because we're going to do versus battles with Tolkien characters called Tolkien, Tolkien Arena. So we're going to be creating shows for you guys to be a part of. If you have characters that you want to see pit against each other, this is your opportunity. Join the creator circle and tune in, chime in, say, hey, man, that was great. I think you guys should one of you guys should be wearing a toga and you should be swinging swords at each other.
Amen.
Could you have Hercules versus Tolkien? Can you do that? You could be a part of the process, and I think it's great, man. So the main thing we want to get across is you guys make sure you spread the word about Signum Collaboratory. And make sure you guys sign up and you get it out there, and it's a great platform.
And also beyond just these programs, like all of the lectures and classes that Signum has ever taught as a university are
available.
So I'm revisiting stuff that I've never studied that was recorded, a decade ago. So
you can revisit things that you recorded.
Or I can revisit my own classes and be like, what did I say in that class 7 years ago? But it is phenomenal. So it's like a whole cache of online university fun classes. And we're talking like King Arthur, we're talking science fiction, fantasy, language, literature, the whole breadth and depth.
And one other thing that I would emphasize, this is kind of on a technical business point, but I think it's really important, is that I would want people to know we are really proactive and as generous as we can possibly be in paying royalties to the creators who work with us. So everything that gets sold in our store, we give a big chunk of royalties to the creators who made it. Even when people subscribe to the Collaboratory, you know what the whole actors strike was about? When the Actors Guild went on strike, they were all striking about the fact that the streaming platforms weren't paying them for what they did. Well, I had already written before that strike started, we had already written exactly the kind of contract that they went on strike to get, basically, which is that, we do buy views within the Collaboratory. Whenever somebody is subscribed to the Collaboratory and they're watching stuff from people, we pay royalties to the people whose stuff they watched that month. Because again, it's a great way. And you talked about circles. When people subscribe at the patron level to become the patron of one of our creators, then a huge chunk of the money that they're paying every month for their subscription just goes directly to support that particular. So it's like Patreon, but cooler because you get more.
So they don't take a cut.
And one thing I really like about the whole thing is we live very much in a world where things have become very decentralized or siloed in the sense of like, we look at creators and what they focus on in their own platforms. It is a breath of fresh air to come and find something so centralized, more focused on the creativity and the process behind it, and bringing that creativity and that information to individuals who are interested in it. And not like trying to, like, to all of your point, really push some kind of agenda. I mean, the agenda is to create.
Exactly.
So there is some kind of agenda.
But it's a good one.
So it's been a blessing and working with you guys with that.
It's so much fun to work with you. I can't even tell you.
Kudos, man, to everything you're doing, and we appreciate you. Big shout out to Rings and Realms, man. The show is amazing, man. So make sure you check that out.
Now we've got a separate YouTube page for Rings and Realms, so people want to go there. And actually, we've also. Our episodes are long because we have a lot to say. We do a lot of analysis, and I talk a lot. So those episodes are long, but we have them on the Collaboratory.
Yeah, they're also Collaboratory
which
without
means
commercials.
You can watch them without ads, on the Collaboratory.
It's like having YouTube Premium, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And it is Rings of Power heavy, but we've also done a whole bunch of stuff interviewing cast, crew, writers of War of the Rohirrim and other adaptations of Tolkien. And then we're working on a documentary about War of the Rohirrim as well that we shot last year.
Wow, I can't wait to see it.
That's awesome.
We got all the footage. We just need an editor. So if anybody wants to volunteer as an editor with Signum University, give me a shout.
So now that we've gotten what you guys are up to, and all of that stuff out of the way, we got to get to the nitty gritty because we can't have the Tolkien Professor here and not talk about Lord of the Rings.
All right.
This is where I sit back and just
we gotta get into some
I know.
things.
Us Tolkien fans, we're eating good lately. Between the Rings of Power, animated films like the War of the Rohirrim, and now we got the Hunt for Gollum coming out, and a bunch of video games being worked on as well.
And the 25th anniversary, all the content.
25th anniversary.
Literally today, they just announced, they got an article in Empire magazine that's coming out on the 11th, or
I think so.
Yeah, so I'm not sure, but
the new cover there.
Fire looking. Who doesn't appreciate Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings? But Corey, specifically wanted to ask you, because this is coming up, and we've got a couple years yet till it happens. The Hunt for Gollum. What are your thoughts on that movie coming out?
So I'm open-minded about it. I had, as soon as it was announced, I had one question and one concern.
What was that?
My concern was, you aren't just going to play the nostalgia game with this, are you? This is going to be something new and not like this is just like more of the, because it was one of the things that I was most concerned about with War of the Rohirrim too, especially when that trailer came out with the clips from the Lord of the Rings films. I'm like, come on, guys. You're doing something else. I get it. I totally do get it.
Let it breathe,
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I know lots of people are nostalgic, and I understand why the marketing department wants to capitalize on that. I do get it. But still, I'm like, do your own thing, right? You did something awesome. Now do something else awesome, right? So that's my first concern, is that are they going to able to kind of break free and do another great film, and not just one that looks back at the great films they already did. So that was my concern. And I think that they very well may be able to do that, but that was my concern. My question was, what's the story here? The Hunt for Gollum is by itself, that would have been so. Okay, so there have been the two examples, right? So we know that the Warner Brothers, rest in peace, had
too soon.
Shout out to Warner Brothers. Pour a little liquor.
Pour it out for Warner Brothers. But anyway, Warner Brothers has the license for feature film production, right? And so when they announced the War of the Rohirrim, that so it's like, so the next feature film that they're going to do is this story from the history of the Third Age, right? The story of Helm Hammerhand.
200 years before the events of the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. And I was like, wow, that's brilliant. That is perfect. Like, that is exactly, this is the kind of movie I want from now on, I want you to go back into, because there are so many awesome
So
stories.
many of
that
those
would make
one-offs
great
that just
movies.
they tie in, but they are their own separate thing there.
Fill
And
in
they're
the
They have
gaps, you get the
structure.
freedom to
Structure.
create what you want to create. You
Yeah.
have the world established, but you get to have the creativity.
And you're not tied down so hard to a straightforward thing to where you can't do other things with it.
Exactly.
Like, Lord of the Rings, people are going to have a fit if you don't have this like that.
Right.
But with something like that, there's a little room to play because,
Exactly.
everything isn't stated. So you can
The
have a little,
story of Helm Hammerhand is like 3 pages of text.
Yeah, it's like,
The
I don't
rings
even know
in
if
the
it's
appendix.
that. And
Yeah.
having the main character be Hera,
That was great.
I loved it.
that
I
choice.
loved it because it
It's a
still
brilliant
ties in.
choice.
Because
Yeah.
Helm Hammerhand did have daughters.
dead.
Did have a
Never
daughter, and
named.
she's the clear through character.
I'm gonna
right?
say it's
Her
not gonna be
brother-
the sons.
Her
They
brothers
don't make
and,
it.
and father die, right? So she's the survivor. No, it was great. So anyway, so just as a kind of a template for how they were going to move forward with movies, I was like, perfect, man. This is the best possible start. More of that. Let's see what. Do one on the Kinstrife next. Do one on. Young Eric. Who knows? There's so many.
Kinstrife would have been so cool.
So
so
good.
cool.
Very cool.
Castamere and
Very cool.
everything.
We
Holy
would have got to see an intact Oscillio. We would have been
Yeah.
able to see
Right.
that.
That's what I've always dreamt
The
of.
Dome
seeing
of
the city.
Stars. We would have
Yeah,
been able
the
to see
Dome
the
of
giant
Stars.
Palantir.
So good.
Like, come on.
So good.
And that's one that I hadn't actually thought about.
I'm like, I would
so
love a
we're gonna
list
get into the
for
nitty gritty of
Yeah.
these things. We about to. Let me just
Stretch out a little. Stretch out a
Anyway,
little.
so this gets us back to when I heard about Hunt for Gollum. I was like, okay, that wasn't on my top 25 list of stories to tell.
I was more like, did they do this? Oh, that was a fan made.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. There's that issue
That
too.
already exists.
And honestly, I think that the fan film kind of illustrates it's limited.
point.
It's a limited story. There's not now. You can do more. I'm not saying it's not possible to make a good story out of it. And I can think of some ways that you can do it, especially if you have it very Gandalf focused. One of the big, I won't say mysteries, but one of the big questions that a lot of Lord of the Rings readers often have, like a question I have fielded many times over my academic career. What was Gandalf thinking? What on earth was why did he not figure this out sooner? And what was going on?
You had to figure it out.
And I think, there's actually some fun kind of story there to kind of look back at the history of him and of Saruman and how he worked it out and how so I'm like, okay, again, so I'm not saying it's impossible to tell a good story. It wasn't obvious. Whereas Helm Hammerhand, I was like, slam dunk, this is fantastic. Hunt for Gollum, I'm like, that's okay. So Gandalf is like, we need more information from Gollum. Let's find him. Oh, hey, Aragorn, can you help me find him? And they look for a long time and don't find him. And then Gandalf's like, I'm out of here. I got to go do something else. And Aragorn's like, okay, I'll keep looking. And then Aragorn finds him and he's like, hey, I found him. Now what do I do with this guy? And I got to drag him off and put him in prison. That's the story. That's the Hunt for Gollum story in bare bones. As an outline, you can't tell the story of Helm Hammerhand and not have it sound interesting. No matter how briefly you tell it, it's an awesome story, right? You tell the story of the Hunt for Gollum in brief like that, and if that what I just delivered was an elevator pitch to a studio exec, they would be like, "Where's the story, man? That doesn't sound like a story."
And that in there is where my concern is,
Right.
because if that's what they're going with, we can talk around what else is happening in Middle Earth at that time. We can probably build something.
Yeah, no, you can build it.
Sure, but it's not as obviously evident as it is for Hammerhand. So immediately we're kind of like, so what story are you going to make up? And that just makes me a little nervous. Who are you going to pull to the front? If we're not familiar with it and you haven't already started to lay this foundation of you guys are going to like it, we're going to tell this kind of world, I'm already like, oh no, who are you inventing? What are you bringing that doesn't actually exist?
Yeah, so to give a little illustration of that, right? Again, if this doesn't bring up too many scars. The Hobbit films, Legolas and Tauriel, right? So on the one hand, so that's an example.
And I have no problem with invented characters.
No,
Let's put that on the
not at all.
table.
Not at all.
Olin
Not at all.
is one of the best things that ever happened.
Who?
Lord of the Rohirrim, Olin.
Olin.
Oh,
yeah,
my
I
God.
love it.
Give me that film. I want more.
Or Rings of Power or Ondir.
Yeah.
One of my favorite characters
there's-
ever.
He became
Fantastic.
beloved even more.
Totally.
He really came into his own. Yeah, so I understand what you're saying.
No problem with made-up characters. It's more.
It's just what
drive.
direction are they going to take?
The
So
drive
again,
of it.
in the Hobbit films, when they had other plot lines that they added to the plot line that's there in the Hobbit, right? One of the plot, what did they add when they added? Well, they added a really awkward elf love triangle, right? And so it's that wasn't an awesome ad. And so that's what I think is the concern that you're talking about. They're going to add something, so maybe, hopefully, it's better than what they added. In the
I think they have to be
Hobbits.
willing to step away from the legacy of the film of Peter
Yeah.
Jackson's
Yeah.
trilogy.
Yeah.
And
Let's hope so.
you know, you cannot be frightened to go into the details provided from the books, but really the appendices. A lot of people do not, and this is a fun thing. A lot of people, when they read The Lord of the Rings, they don't read the appendices.
Yeah, a lot of people just don't read the appendices at all.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it's a whole, it's brimming with information, not
Yeah.
only about like the second age, but the third age too. Like you hear about Aragorn and Arwen meeting. You hear about the time that they like professed their love and where the Ring of Beta here actually
What Aragorn was doing.
You know?
during
By
that
the
time.
way, there's another good example of a much better film off the top, like on the surface. Like tell the
Negatory.
Thorongil, you know, the
Negatory.
Eagle Star.
I never
I'm
want to
saying-
hear about Aragorn's story. I don't know why, but I'm like,
don't wanna hear it?
I don't want to hear it.
No?
Yeah,
Well, I kind of do. His
You wouldn't wanna
childhood
see
would
him
be
go to
it's
fascinating.
cool, like when he goes to Gondor and everything
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And he's
Yeah.
in part, he's in with Rohan and everything. It's cool, but then most of it is
You were
brooding
so
love
flippant.
story,
I thought you were
of,
flippant.
and we've already seen that. So I'm gonna not only am I gonna go against Corey on that because
No,
when we
all
me
I'm
and Corey
saying
go,
is
we go.
that would make more sense to me than Hunt for Gollum.
So
Yeah.
I thought so too. I'm gonna retort here because I was mortified when I heard that. I was
Yeah.
like not excited at all. And then I thought about it, and I from reading the material, there actually is a bunch more there than what it seems. When we look at it in short, we're saying, what is Gandalf telling us the story about Gollum? And we think that's the hunt for Gollum, but it's actually much more encompassing. So Gollum's travels are a part of the hunt for Gollum.
Yeah.
We're just not thinking about it like that. So it talks about he travels to Dale. He travels to near to the Lonely Mountain. He's eating babies. Gollum travels through the dead marshes. He gets captured by Sauron. Shit that we never seen. We never see Barad-dûr inside of Barad-dûr except for that tiny 1 second clip. But we're gonna get to see him. Who caught Gollum? Because it wasn't Sauron. So who caught him? Who brought him there? Who tortured him? We get to see the actual fight in Mirkwood. We get to see that whole thing. Some kind of collaboration happened to where they sent the orcs to Mirkwood. All these things we get to see. Gollum is the most traveled beside Gandalf and Aragorn
Yeah.
by
It's
far.
true.
So all these things are part of that. We tend to separate them in our brain, but they're all a through line. They're all the same adventure, and we get to see all of that. We get to see Gandalf be an asshole and torture Gollum.
Yeah.
Fire to
what
his
I'm
feet. But we get an opportunity to really visit because, like, if we're talking about, I don't want to say, I'm not going to say nostalgia, but there's an opportunity to revisit a lot of locations like Dol Guldur. You can revisit that in Southern Mirkwood. You can revisit, like you said, Barad-dûr, Dale, the Lonely Mountain, Erebor, Lake Town, all these like areas that we are so familiar with in the story from a different perspective.
Yeah.
And that does excite me to some extent.
Yeah.
You know.
Of course it does.
Well,
You're
Shelob-
revisiting a familiar world. That's
Now,
Shelob.
took me
Yeah.
back for that vacation.
Gollum talks to Shelob in some kind of capacity.
Yeah.
He promises her
Yeah.
sweeter meat.
He worships her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
in
So
the books,
that
to
whole
some extent.
interaction going through the Morgul Vale, like remember when Gollum does these things the first time, trial and error. So we'll get to see much more. How did he discover that he had to go up the secret stair? He's not going to just know it was there. He's not from there. He's never left under the Misty Mountains and the Vales of Anduin. So he doesn't, when he's doing these travels, it's a new experience. And he's in his experience, he's listening to tales, all these things he's doing. And simultaneously, other things are happening as well. And it's not a throwaway. It's not, just add that for adding that sake. It's true to the story.
Yeah.
So that's when I took a step back and I said, oh, snap.
Yeah.
I get to see some really cool shit that I never thought I'd ever see. And that's where I think they'll win if they do it that
If they
way.
do.
If it
I'm
focuses
not-
on the whole story of Gollum.
The whole
could be
story
more
of it.
interesting.
Yes.
And,
And, we have
And-
to take into account compression of time here that they've done in the movies, and
Yeah, of course.
not just the TV show, but the movie specifically, because they
Yes.
cut the 17 years out. The
Yeah,
movie
we just
is-
win the Hunt for Gollum.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The movie starts at like 3,000 and something, I believe, and what they can do now though is because of that they can start showing the machinations of the War of the Rings starting,
Yeah.
like the Black Riders leaving Mordor and going
Yes.
to Rohan.
Yes.
Or them going to Orthanc to confront Saruman, for example, even at towards those events later, or have them at least speaking to each other before that. You could have individuals what's going on in Gondor and Gandalf going to Minas Tirith and having more of a relationship with the Gondorians and going and seeing more of their records too, because a lot of
He's
people
looking, he's searching.
Yeah.
exactly, and you can show his search as well, because the idea of the ring, it sits heavy on his mind, because the lesser rings of power, a lot of people don't know this, also turns you invisible. The only rings that didn't were the three Elven, because they were not touched by Sauron. So they could have that tie-in being like, that is one of the first signs that Gandalf notices, not even a change over Bilbo, it's the ring itself. He was not worried if it was a lesser ring of power, But keep in mind, there's no other mentions of rings. If someone has a magic ring, it's probably a ring of power, and he needed to know if it was the one or not.
Sauron's timetable is pushed up significantly by the actions of Saruman. Well, you have no idea. You just think Saruman is a blind puppet in the movies. We can have a little more of that because that during that time period, Saruman is searching for the ring. All of that. We also can, I think a great turning point in the movie would be, and hey, if you're listening, Warner Brothers, you know what I'm saying? If you're listening, take some of my notes. Gollum at some point comes out. He searches for Bilbo. He goes to places he knows. He's hearing Bilbo's name because he's famed. It tells you that. He's famed and he's hearing these things. And then Gollum decides, I'm going to go west. I'm going to go to the Shire. Yeah. And then we could have like, he could be talking to himself, which is canon. He talks to himself all the time. I'm going to go to the Shire and get him. You know, we're going to go get him. And, you know, maybe when he's sleeping, he hears whispers of Sauron because something draws him back to Mordor. And it's a call of evil. And it's some kind of representation of that would be really cool to see. We can't physically see nothing calling him, but we can whispers, like when Frodo puts on the ring, I see you, and these things like this.
Oh, and would they have that interact with, so they really played up the like multiple personality thing with Gollum in the films, which was really effective. It's much more, you know, the idea of Gollum being like at war with himself and like the one side, you know, the Smeagol side and the Gollum side. Again, like it's not that that's not there at all in the text, but they really play that up, and like the way that they, you know, that make him look like like more of a the multiple personality thing. That's not really Gollum in the book, but it is in the film. Like that's film canon, right? And so it would be interesting to see if that call of evil is one of the things that like, you know, is pulling and corrupting and turning the two sides of Gollum against, you know, themselves. And I think they could do some really interesting.
We know it's the same universe, so that's why it would be canon.
It would work
toward that. You know,
I love that. I would love that. And Andy Serkis, you know, being that so experienced with the role would be perfect, like just handling it himself. I mean, he's directing himself, so how hard can it be for him? I
wonder if the producers and writers think about this stuff like, yo, just hire us at this point. Just hire me and hire Belmont and hire Corey. Like, let's make it happen.
Hey, wait a minute, I'm right here.
You know, and Maggie's the boss. You gotta hire Maggie if you want to hire all of us.
You gotta hire Maggie as well. So that's an interesting subject of something that's coming out now. We got something that's coming out much earlier, season 3 of The Rings of Power.
There's been a lot of leaks. One of the leaks that I'm really excited about is our guy Robert, who just won a BAFTA. Was it right? He just won an award for his acting, playing both Elrond and Elros.
Yes.
Yeah, I am so excited. I'm a big Numenorian guy. I love Numenor.
And before any of you, they're twins. Before any of you say what?
Right. Yeah. No. That's that is perfect. I mean, that's just what, and of course, like there are a bunch of twins in Tolkien, and it's not obvious that all of the twins in Tolkien are identical twins, right?
Yeah, true.
However, I love, and Tolkien doesn't even talk that way. Like he doesn't distinguish. No. He talks about twins, but he doesn't specify identical twins necessarily.
Like I feel like you get the feeling that Amrod and Ambrose are identical.
And they're not. They're not.
Oh, they're not. See, I always got the feeling like there's like.
I actually let me go back because there's Angharad and Angnor, and then there's Amrod and Ambrose.
Angharad and Angnor are twins?
No.
They're not twins.
Amrod and Ambrose are twins.
That's what I want to correct myself. They're twins. Yes. The other two aren't twins.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Feanor's kids.
Feanor's kids.
The youngest are twins.
The youngest two are twins. Yeah. Nerd didn't actually want 7, but anyway,
she tried.
She was going to stop at 6, but then anyway. So that's what happens when we have twins last. Anyway, yeah. So I love the idea, like of all of the twins in Tolkien, like Arwen's brothers, Elrond's sons are twins, also, and
twins running that family.
Yeah,
heavy.
Yes,
because Elrond's uncles were also twins.
Yeah, exactly.
The ones that. Perished in the woods.
Exactly. So, but of all of the sets of twins in the Silmarillion tradition, it's Elrond and Elros that I think is most important to have them be identical. Yeah. Like, I would absolutely want the first king of Numenor to be identical with Elrond. Like, totally. Like, that is so. Yes, you cast Robert Arameo as Elros, obviously.
And they're going to give him a beard, apparently. I'm like, sure.
Do it.
I love it.
Love it.
They're gonna give him a beard.
Well, they'd have to. I mean, there's too many characters already. They got to have a really quick, easy way to distinction.
Oh man,
One
it's
thing-
good. It's good.
I don't
like it.
mind the Numenorians having beards or facial hair. I know that's one fact actually
That's what I'm saying,
stated
it's like
is
us.
that they don't have facial hair in the books.
Though,
So
in the defense of people who gave them beards, that wasn't released. Like, that is only published in The Nature of Middle-earth, which was published actually after season one was shot
Yeah.
of Rings
Yeah.
of Power.
Things like that is like,
So, you know, like, whatever. Like,
I like the Hildebrand,
give
you
them
know, the sick
pass on that.
mustaches.
Yeah.
I just-
Hildebrand is a wild
But it's on
dude.
canon. They were canon. to what
Hildebrand has
existed at the
everybody
time.
looking like Conan, like it's wild. He's wild. Like
don't
the
like
elder,
Otter
like the
Brothers
brothers
Hildebrand?
Hildebrand, like
Yeah, oh, yeah.
swinging Conan swords. I was like, this dude is wild. These dudes are wild. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But it's really cool. So this season, what are some things you hope to see? And I'll get into what I expect and also explanation of things and how they should go. 'Cause I've been kind of on the money, not to toot my own horn, but I've been on the money with what they're doing and why they're doing it, because I can see with the restraints stuff that they have, I'm like, oh, they have to do it this way. So what are some things, Corey, that you think they're going to do, and what do we need to see in season 3?
Well, I think one of the big things that we're going to see clearly is the relationship between the stranger and the dark wizard. You know, these are conceptually the blue wizards, the two blue wizards, right? The two blue wizards. You know, there were two wizards who were involved out in the East. Tolkien told two different versions of, well, I say told, kind of hinted at, perhaps would be a better way to say, the two kind of destinies or outcomes of the two blue wizards out in the East. One in which they did awesome and stayed faithful and made a huge difference in opposing Sauron out in the East, and the other in which they become the leaders of magical cults. And
what were their names? They go by Romastamo and Moranetar.
Morenitar, yeah. But that's the good ones.
Those are the good ones.
And
Those
then
got the
there's
bad
the
ones.
other
Alatar and
Palando, exactly.
Yeah, who are the ones who go bad. Anyway.
They're real bad.
So it's clear that what they're conceptually doing with the two wizards is showing the two different versions.
Two different versions.
Two
That's
different
exactly what I
versions.
thought they would.
And I dig that. I like
good,
that a lot.
the good and the bad. And so I love that. Now again, lots of people out there are going to be like, but Gandalf, dude. And I'm like, yeah, I know. They've superimposed Gandalf on top of that and whatever. I'm rolling with it and it's fine. But it's clearly the Blue Wizard story. That
There's a lot of emotions under that.
The only thing that truly frustrates me about it being Gandalf is that we are explicitly told that Gandalf does not go east.
Okay, so yeah, that's hard.
Yeah, that's the only thing that makes it hard for me.
So here's my main thing about that. First of all, yeah, you're right. You're right. And again, as I said, I think that the Gandalf thing in the Rings of Power is a whole later super.
Some things don't have to be defended. But
whatever.
Anyway, I don't like the choice.
But the main thing that I would say about that statement, that's from Faramir. Right, that's when Faramir is reciting to Frodo the names of Gandalf that Gandalf taught him. Right, and so that's Faramir quoting Gandalf when he says, to the east I go not. And when you're in Gondor, right, and you talk about the east, what are you talking about?
You're talking about Mordor.
You're talking about
Mordor. That's what
exactly.
I think he meant.
I think that's what he meant too.
That's a really good point. I've never thought about
Rune
that.
is kind of like we're not even talking about Rune right now.
That's interesting. Because Gandalf very specifically, he even yells at is it Gimli or Boromir? One of them when they're talking about Moria. I think it might have been Boromir, but he was like talking about Moria. He's like, "Yo, this is the dark." He's like, "This is nothing."
Yeah.
Right?
He said it's like going in and knocking on the door of the Dark Tower itself, right? Yeah, and Gandalf is like, "Dude,
don't even."
You don't have
He
any.
said, "Even I have only been in its lesser dwellings in Dol Guldur.
Yeah,
Like, don't
and
liken
not
this
even-
to a
And
stronghold
so
of
I can
Sauron."
tell you how little you know what you were talking about when you are making that comparison. Yeah,
You know what I'm
That's
saying?
a really interesting point because, most times, and a lot of us think it's Rune he means.
Yeah.
Because
The
of where,
power that rises in the east. Remember, they don't even. Honestly, they they encompass themselves differently. Like very much so how we call Middle Earth, and Balarian as if it's a different place when it's really part of Middle Earth. But we only call Balarian.
Yeah.
We don't say Middle Earth. We sometimes when we're the whole thing, but we call Balarian very specifically its own place. They're the same place. They're literally
It's
one
just
just sucking the sea.
part of the
So when they're talking about Middle Earth, they're talking about their lands. I don't think they count Rune. I think they count that as like outer lands, and they count Harad, far Harad. They count that as its own place. Where foreign people come from. But Mordor is a part of the Middle Earth that they know, and that's the East to them. I think that's what it is.
And throughout the Lord of the Rings, like whenever people talk about the East with a capital E, it's almost always Mordor specifically.
That's interesting. That's maybe something. That's something.
Anyway, I mean, I get this is not me trying to
but also
pull and make excuses. But again,
no. But it's an open-ended statement. It needs to be treated as so.
And also, as soon as you said that, like, we don't know all the parts of what Faramir doesn't know too. Like, there is also that possibility of like there's something else in there, but geography is your starting point, and it might not be that.
And also, like, Faramir was probably a kid when Gandalf told him this. Right? So, I mean, this is not like Gandalf, this is not sitting in an armchair with Gandalf and debriefing after the war and be like, Gandalf, tell us about your whole life experience. Oh, I'll tell you, right? No, this is like the thing he told to 8-year-old Faramir one day, right? That Faramir still remembers, but and that he's reciting. But so it's hardly exhaustive, I think. So, in other words, this is to say, I don't have any problem with him taking that liberty. It's fine. Again, I don't love the Gandalf thing. I think it's a little unfortunate. I think it's an afterthought. I think it's a little forced.
Alley-oop to the fans.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's. It would be my foremost example. I don't have a problem. People talk about fan service in adaptations. I don't in my opinion, what some people call fan service, I call
cheap shot.
Or
that's. Sorry, I should.
If it is, no, I'm just saying sometimes what people call fan service, I would just call making pleasing your audience. There's nothing wrong with that.
I think it's a slightly sidestep though of thinking they're pleasing the audience.
Right.
They think they need to make this Gandalf to make the fans happy.
Oh, I'm not defending that in this way.
But we don't actually need that.
Yeah.
Just tell a good story.
No, I agree. I'm just saying conceptually.
Not so far as pandering, but not far off from that.
Yeah. Conceptually, when people complain about fan service, I don't have a problem in principle with the concept of fan service. But yes, that's a case where where I feel like they have. I mean, season 1, it was so obvious. This was the story of the Blue Wizards, and I was so excited about that.
And to that last
this
line.
is great. And then I'm like, no, don't. You don't have to go there, man. Don't go there.
And the funny thing is that the Blue Wizards would have been the fan service, but it also would have been kind of more true. You know what I mean? Same thing. So we might as well segue into Glorfindel, who is supposed to be coming around the same time, and it would be considered technically, to people who don't know any better, fan service, but it's actually it's not. We didn't get it. It was snatched away from us, which it worked out fine. Love Arwen in the Lord of the Rings.
It was one of the most polarizing things that, if you remember watching the first film.
Originally, people were up in arms about it, but it ended up working out, and it's fine when we love Arwen. But now, when they place Glorfindel anywhere, it's going to be like fan service. No, he's supposed to be there. He's supposed to be there.
I mean, honestly, if I to make a risky comparison, it's like people complaining about Legolas being in the Hobbit films. Yeah, it's like he's the son
prince
of the
elven king. That doesn't make it. That's the part where we really now, should he have ran up in Lake Town and all that? Maybe not.
Not necessarily.
But he's the prince of Mirkwood. Where is he going to be?
You've got to have a good excuse for him not to be there.
I never had any problem with Legolas being there. I had more of a problem with Legolas in his anti-gravitational.
That was wild. That was super wild.
You start doing, silly stuff, then you get what you deserve. But anyway, so I would compare Glorfindel to that. Glorfindel. Of course, he should be there. Yeah. He should be there. The story that Tolkien tells, and admittedly, this is a story that Tolkien tells late in his life. This is in the couple of years before he died. When he finally went back and was like, so to fill in folks who don't know about this. So the Glorfindel in the Lord of the Rings, the elf that Frodo meets on the way to Rivendell. There is a Glorfindel character in the Silmarillion, right? Glorfindel of Gondolin, who fights the Balrog and dies fighting the Balrog, and he's
Lord of the
this
House
awesome.
of the Golden Flower.
He's awesome. He is awesome. So basically, but that was right at the point when Tolkien wrote The Hobbit. He already had most of the Silmarillion written.
Yeah.
And what he does with the entire Hobbit is full of recycled bits of all of Tolkien's favorite stories.
Right.
Like he takes bits from Beowulf that he loves. He takes bits from the Norse Eddas that he loves. He takes bits from the Silmarillion.
Yeah, a lot of bits. That's where he got himself kind of pigeonholed into doing that.
Exactly, because he wasn't doing continuity.
Yeah.
He was just recycling.
just
At
like-
that point, he thought the Silmarillion was never going to be published.
Yeah.
Right.
He'd already floated it to a publisher and it got turned down. So he was like,
Might
okay,
as well
fine.
use it.
Yeah.
So he's like, but I love this stuff. So you can see throughout The Hobbit, he's recycling stuff, right? Now he goes to write The Lord of the Rings, which starts off as a sequel to The Hobbit. So he's like, okay, I'm still recycling, right? But then there's a specific point he comes to. And the point, you bet we just talked about yesterday, you can see, I'm 100% convinced that you can see, so if you read in the History of Middle-earth series, volume 6, 7, and 8, is the history of the writing of the Lord of the Rings. Yeah. So you can read like the early drafts of the Lord of the Rings and stuff.
The Shadow returns.
Yeah. So in the Return of the Shadow, you can see that there's this one passage where it is it's when Trotter, who's Strider, but it's called Trotter originally.
Yeah.
Like you got a deal. Frodo's called Bingo, so it could be worse. But anyway, when Trotter opens his mouth and says, "I will tell you the tale of Tenuviel," the first time we get the song of Beren and Luthien on Weathertop, that's the moment when it clicks for Tolkien. He's like, wait. I'm not just going to recycle my Silmarillion stuff. I'm going to make this story continuous. This is going to be the same universe.
Same universe.
And
take that, MCU.
And it was like boom, and that's where the Lord of the Rings blows up.
Yeah,
it really blows up at that point. Now Glorfindel, he's a recycle.
Yeah.
Right? So he's like, there's an elf form. He's like, I know.
There's a few names.
Make them the same.
Like Legolas.
They're immortal.
Yeah. Legolas was a recycled name too.
He decided to make him a different elf though. He's different.
Yeah.
Technically Boromir too. There's a Boromir in the first.
There's a Boromir. There's a bunch of names. Denethor, all of that. That's like okay.
Yeah.
Now these are namesakes.
Right.
These are namesakes now.
So for humans, that's cool. The humans can name exactly Boromir, Denethor, Ecthelion, the whole family,
the whole line of the stewards,
named after famous elves.
Beren,
and they seem to have this like almost sick fascination with the story of Turin Turambar, right? You get like Turin and Turambar as separate people, right? And it's like, dude, House of the Stewards, like, figure it out. But anyway, it's not a good idea. It's like bad role model, folks. Bad role model.
Sorry. Try something new, Bob.
But anyway, so he decides, okay, it's fine for humans to actually like be namesakes, right? So I don't have to mess with that. But elves are immortal, so it's weird. Right, it's weird to have like this Glorfindel of Gondolin, because what happens if you have Glorfindel of Gondolin and then you have Glorfindel of Rivendell and they meet one day? Like that's just super awkward, right? So he decided like elves don't recycle names.
Yep.
It's like one and done for elves. So he did have Legolas originally. So what does he do? He cuts the original Legolas from Gondolin. He was in Gondolin too. So the Legolas Greenleaf, who was originally in the Tale of Gondolin, when he revises the Tale of Gondolin, he cuts it.
He cuts him out.
Right. So that's easy, but he can't cut Glorfindel. Right, Glorfindel's a trap. So he's like, well, crap. What do I do? So that's when
bring him back.
That's what he decides. Right? That's what he decides.
But the deed is so great, though.
He's like, okay, I'm going to make a story in which that same Glorfindel comes back from, not just comes back from the dead, because all elves do that, because they don't exactly die, but he comes back to Middle-earth, the only elf ever to come back from. So he makes Glorfindel, his solution to the problem is to make Glorfindel 10 times as awesome as he was before.
Which I'm totally on board with.
Yeah.
You know, then you ask, does this character really belong in an adaptation of Lord of the Rings? Probably not, because how many questions would have been raised if all of a sudden you saw this incredibly powerful elf?
But that's why I love the Council of Elrond, because they explain all of that.
Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
like he really thought, he didn't just throw it in and say, okay, I don't care. He's like, we can't have him go. He's crazy. Like, you know what I mean? He walks in both worlds. He's this and the third.
Yeah.
He's, on a fighting level, he's up there, with the Galadriels and the Elronds, and he's a powerhouse.
Yeah. So speaking of crazy though, this is one of the things I really respect the showrunners of the Rings of Power for. Their criticisms, many make, and I agree with some, but they're kind of fearless. Like
Yeah.
they go places where I'm like, dude, I'm not sure I would have gone there.
All right.
I can bring up a couple examples, but
Yeah.
no.
Their knowledge level too, you know, like when we're watching it before we do Rings and Realms, like we
Yeah.
watch it all together in previs back there, and everyone's kind of taking it in. And then you watch it again and start to discuss it. And then you watch it again, and then you hear Corey go, "Oh, that's what they're doing."
Yeah, yeah.
But it takes three
It
viewings
takes 3 or 4
for
viewings,
Corey,
yeah.
the Tolkien professor, to figure out what they're trying to do.
To get and it's
That might
but
be a
it's-
little bit
it's
of a
really-
reach.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. But so Glorfindel returning, I agree. It's a lot to try to do. To be like, what would that look like when Glorfindel of Gondolin comes back into Middle Earth, and like how does he like fit in? You know, how does like, hey, y'all back from Valinor?
I got these 2 old guys with me.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, so what's happening? Can I like help out or something? You know, like anyway,
Eventually
like,
Gil-galad.
I think it's befitting that he
I
goes.
guess.
It's befitting that he goes with Elrond because
Sure.
he literally served Elrond's great grandfather.
he was
Yes.
he was like carrying Earendel on his shoulder.
Yeah.
He served his father.
Yeah.
In a way, that was his friend. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
So that is awesome. Now I do want to discuss what do we think they're going to do, because we have some things that haven't got done that should have got done already. And then we have a bit of a time gap, and there's not going to be place for a lot of Numenorian activity.
Yeah.
So we
Now,
want to
as,
discuss.
as director for the day, am I allowed to say we've got 10 to 15 minutes?
That's
to
why
do
I was on it. I was
Fantastic.
checking it out. All right. So
we
real
gotta
quick,
get back in the studio.
Do you want to do a circle? You go first, I'll go next, and then Maggie.
To talk about
Yeah, what do you want?
So I just think we got to make the one ring.
Yeah,
This
we gotta
point,
make the
it has
one.
to,
Make the
the
one
9
ring.
have to be distributed.
Yeah.
I think there was a good job of saying there's strife with the dwarves, because now we can say, oh, this is why the dwarves wear the ring anyway, even though he should say, technically, Doran should say, hey, these rings are no good. They're not going to listen to you because there's strife there. So now that makes sense.
Yeah.
The battle of the Gwaflo and the war between Sauron and the elves, we should see that. Now, the battle of the Gwaflo, instead of Minister sending the Numenorians, cut Minister completely out, because we're already at Farazon. Farazon take his place and just automatically take him.
Yeah, because we've got in the history of the Second Age, you've got 2 separate occasions on which the Numenorians invade with an army and kick Sauron's army's butt.
Yeah.
Yep.
We can combine those.
Combine those
super
into
easy.
one.
Not even
one
a complaint
thing.
with that.
No.
That makes complete
So
sense.
that's what makes sense. So that's where we saw these, leaked images, and we see Farazon, Elrond, and Gil-galad together. That would make sense then.
So my theory, like from the beginning, of like the pacing of the plot of the series, was always that season 3 would be sort of focused on the dynamics of the war in Eriador, right, and would more or less culminate with the invasion of Farazon and the Numenorians and the taking
of Sauron. And then
Sauron, bringing
season
him back to
4 should
Numenor.
be the Calabath.
Right, exactly. The Calabeth is season 4, and then season 5 is the Last Alliance.
The last.
I think that's brilliant. And like,
It's like you're in my head, dude.
no, I think we're all on the same page
Yeah.
here. There's just like small nuances that I think about. Like, they have leaks of the elves going to Numenor. Are they going to be trying to do that, for example?
Or is it a flashback? This is why I can't
You
deal
know,
with leaks,
you
because
can't deal with leaks like
everything's
that.
out of
But do I
context. We don't
think-
know.
Yeah.
It could be a memory, it could
Leaks
be a
are tricky.
daydream.
Do I think it'll be okay if there's some kind of relationship formed either by one group going to the other?
Well,
I'm okay with that.
I actually want that.
Yeah.
Because I like the fact that we're going to get an Arya and we're going to get the faithful, like the sort of the subculture of the faithful in Numenor.
Oh yeah.
And of course, in Numenor, there was a lot of toing and froing with the elves. Like the elves came to visit and hung out with them a lot.
Yeah.
And we've not gotten that for different reasons that are related to the way that they're doing the Numenorian story and the time compression, and that's fine. But I actually kind of would love, in the absence of any contact with the elves, the faithful, whom they're situating out in West Numenor, right, where Anarion already was, again, who presumably is going to come in and Isildur's going to be out there. It would, if they don't have any contact with the elves, they're going to be this weird, isolated, monastic community out there, and with no contact with Middle-earth at all. And I think it'd be much better for the elves to be in contact with them.
And if we think about it logically, right? their first king of Numenor is Elros. Why wouldn't Elrond have visited his brother ever?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So Elrond and Gil-galad probably should have visited when it was open to visitation. Prior to them making the Kingsmen. So that should have been the thing. There should be a line, a throwaway line in there. I haven't been here in 1,000 years.
That'd be really
you know what I
cool.
mean? Where it's
Yeah.
like, you know,
Yeah.
since you guys turned your back.
Yeah.
And it doesn't say Galadriel visited. So when Galadriel comes, she's like looking at them like, yeah, you turned away from the elves. And a lot of people didn't get that. It's just their way of saying, which her being there or not is. They already done had her in 1,000 places she wasn't supposed to be.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But
we're not going to get tripped up.
You saw the distrust in her eyes, and like you guys kind of turned your back on the elves.
Yeah.
So that's already happened. And then we get Farazan's speech from last year, where he was telling his son like, "Yo, this is why." Like,
the setup.
Yeah,
for
the setup. Finally, they took too
yeah.
long to get to that.
Yeah.
But so I'm very optimistic with what they're gonna do and the time.
And I loved
the
the
seasons.
Elendil and Muriel story last year. That was my second favorite story of all of season 2. I really, really liked the development of the Muriel and Elendil story.
Yeah, we get
And the
Narsil
culmination
being
of like
delivered.
Narsil being given to him.
Yeah,
I
that was
enjoyed
fun.
That. I enjoyed
That was really
that.
fun.
I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah.
The one thing with Numenor though is there is still the aspect of like the colonization. You know, like everything going on, Umbar being established.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd like to see that in this season to some extent because they have laid it down a little with
Yeah.
like Pelargir and what have you.
And the deforestation, they even talked about that.
Deforestation, Kevin
They're
showing
setting
up,
things up
Yeah.
very nicely. And then we have these colonies of black Numenorians because we know that Homeboy is an asshole. Farazan's son. And
Kevin.
and he's literally is setting up colonies. So it establishes places for black Numenorians to be along the coast. And then we're going to maybe a couple of them, a few of them get rings of power. It is known 3 Numenorian lords get these rings. So who could it be?
My early prediction, Aryan, Nazgul.
Yeah.
Totally going to happen.
Yeah.
Interesting. I like
Totally
that.
going to happen.
All
right.
It's been my early prediction.
Now we've talked a little bit about what we expect. Looking at it just from a show, not as.
Yeah, I was gonna say like I can't compete with you guys in lore, and I have no interest in doing so. But I would say like over scope, like back up a little bit and just look at the big picture. We've had a lot of foundation laying. I'm glad you hit on like the pace that we've got and everything new, but of just like we've got a lot of foundations. We know who our characters are. It's time for these things to start paying off and ramping up.
Exactly.
So like we think there's going to be 5 seasons, right? So like we've had these 2. I think we're going to see a massive up, and then we're going to have this, and then we're going to have this, and then a down. So I think there's going to be a big old ramp up now that the worlds are established in this season.
So what are some answers that you feel like they needed to address after the season 2? What is one of the big questions you want to see answered in Rings of Power?
Okay, so this isn't big in the sense of like centrally important to the plot, but it's like it is time for them to stop postponing answering the question, where the heck has Celeborn been? And why have they been part? I mean,
especially because they brought him up so early.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Just hanging there.
They threw that out there in episode 7, I think, of season 1.
That silver clam,
Yeah, exactly. Silver clam.
Exactly.
Good old silver clam.
Oh.
Anyway, so like I have no problem with it. Like we know that elf husbands and wives often spend centuries apart and everything. Like it's fine, but like they have created a situation where they need a reason, like capital R reason, why they've been apart and been apart such that she thinks he's dead.
Yes.
And he's
and
not
given
like
up.
he's not like told her that he isn't dead, right? He needs a good excuse for that.
Right.
Like he better have a good. And so like basically they've created a situation where they need to have a really good answer to the question, where on earth has Celeborn been and why haven't they been together?
It's not like Galadriel has been like obscured or on the sidelines. She is the commander of the Northern Army. Is what they call her.
Exactly. She's not been hard to find. Right? He could have sent a note.
He actually been captured or something. I think one of the most important things they need to establish in this season, and they got to do it now and not wait. Who are the 9? This is something that why have the Rings of Power if you're not going to establish who the 9 are? The 7 are kind of inconsequential for the most part because the rings don't stay with them. We know that it's going to be one of the Durins. The other lords, it doesn't honestly
They
really
kind
matter.
of introduced it too. They had the whole like gathering and building.
We saw the other lords of the
It doesn't. We don't even need those names like that.
But we don't care about them.
We don't care about them. We need the 9. We need to say, okay, this is the Witch King. Obviously, Kamul is gonna be the Easterling King. Like we know that. But
and
where else?
especially with the momentum of the Nine and where the Nine, like the Nine became the big point of contention between Celebrimbor and Sauron at the end of season 2. Like the whole momentum of and Sauron's recapturing of the Nine in the final episode was like one of the kind of climax points of the whole season. So yes, that needs to carry on into the next season, and we definitely need to know. We need to see some wraithification. We need to see people.
Absolutely. I gotta know if Theo, is going to be one of those characters, because he's going to have there's going to be a big,
Which king of Aemon?
Yeah,
I know,
they're
but
setting him up for
point
something
being,
for sure.
there's one thing that like never gets addressed is that Pelargir is a Númenorian spot, meaning the Númenorians have already been to Middle Earth and have colonized to some extent.
Yes.
So we might already have Black Númenorians established in the
I think
south.
so. I think so.
And that might relate
I was
to
going to
Theo's
say that
father,
when you
too.
brought up Umbar. I think Umbar already exists.
Umbar. Yeah, you should.
It feels that
Pelargir,
way.
Umbar.
Yeah.
But Umbar is older than Pelargir.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
point.
I think it's like Pelargir, as you said. Pelargir is a ruin. I think Umbar is just as
yeah.
old and not a ruin.
Yeah.
Yeah. So before we get out of here, I always have a question for our guests.
Okay.
So I'm gonna ask you guys to answer separately.
Okay.
But we'll start off with Maggie, and then we'll go with Corey.
No pressure.
So the question is a threefold question, okay?
Oh wow!
You might be giving one at a time. Ready?
All right. Well, if you could marry anyone in the Lord of the Rings, in the entire Legendarium, who would you marry? Who would you have protect you?
Ooh.
And who would you fight? Who would you punch dead in the face?
Camlin. That one was easy. And then what were the first two? Sorry, I just got reaction.
Kemen, you would punch in the face.
Kemen, I would punch in the face.
All right, who would you marry?
And who would I protect me?
Yeah, who would
I
you
don't need no damn protection. Olwen would protect me.
Okay, that's great. That's great.
Yeah. Honestly, like it's not just like I want to see a strong woman. It's just like no, she's such a rich, capable, functional, awesome character.
Yeah, it makes sense too.
Yeah, and like not all the other ones, because I obviously don't know as many as you guys do, but there's so many other people in the Legendarium that like, yeah, they're super protectful. Like Aragorn would be great, but he's real distracted by so many other things. You know, Sam, great, he's lovely, but really not super capable in a lot of situations. So I'm gonna stick with Olwen.
Okay.
Who would I marry? That one's gonna take a minute, guys. Go to Corey. I'll come back to Mary.
All right, we're gonna come back.
Okay. Whom would I marry? I am tempted to go really obscure about this, but there's a problem. It's not going to work out. And I'm tempted to say Andreth. I would
Okay.
marry.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow, that is okay.
She might love another though.
But so I'm saying I think it's going to work out. Because, like, do I think I can compete with Ignore the Elf?
I was about to say, Ignor's
Like,
going to have
I don't
something to
think
say
she's
about
looking
that.
twice at me. So I don't think I've got any shot with Andreth, but I'm just saying, like, I think that would be my choice. The second question, who would I have protect me? And it's possible that it's just on my mind right now, but like I gotta go with Glorfindel.
I got a feeling.
Like, especially because like that's like his thing, you know, and that's why he comes back to Middle Earth, because he's like, I want to help protect the line of Eärendil. Like I want, you know, like the story of Gondolin isn't over, and I want to complete the Gondolin story through the end of the time of the elves. And so it's his faithfulness as, you know, as like a protector that brings him back. So I mean, and he's obviously competent. So
Very competent.
You know, I like if you can, you know, 1v1 a Balrog, like you qualify as my
Well,
guy.
guy.
So you know, it's all good.
Yeah.
So I would choose Glorfindel as my protector. And what was the third question?
Who would you fight?
Whom would I punch in the face?
Who would you punch dead in the mouth?
Yeah, the mouth of Sauron.
Nice.
The mouth of Sauron.
Yeah,
I would
man, you're gonna
punch
need
in the face.
you're gonna need a shot. You're gonna need a tetanus shot now.
Right? You see those teeth?
Gingivitis.
I will say that there's a bit of artistic license being taken with their depiction of the mouth of Sauron, but I loved it.
I know.
Like
me too.
I loved
Such a
the
good visual.
making of him all mouth and gross
and
mouth.
like drippy,
Oh,
like
large
everything he
mouth.
said was
The
like
whole
curved,
point,
like because he
you know,
lied.
speaking
Yeah.
for Sauron,
You like can't
has
help
like
but do it.
mutilated his face.
Yes,
and what have
exactly.
you.
Pushed
Exactly.
back.
Yeah.
Because you read the Mouth of Sauron in the book, it's like he's a dude with a helmet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And the horse is scarier.
He was,
The horse is scary,
he was
he
a
is,
great
yeah.
man. Like he was
Yeah.
a great man. Like
yeah.
he's no chump. He was a Númenorian.
He was no
little-
chump, yeah. But I'd punch him in the face, both because of his attitude and because of that. Like, he is exactly the kind of person who is not nobody, but who like thinks he is the
He
best
thinks
and
he's-
really wants to look down on everybody. And
Yeah.
like those are always the kind of people I most want to punch in the face.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
I could agree with that.
Yeah.
Agree with
I think I have to think realistically about who I would marry, because if we're talking about like Maggie in real life, like I just want like a happy home and some good food and a beautiful location. So I think I'd go Samwise,
Ah,
because
there you
he
go.
becomes like a leader
Hard
of
to do better.
Hobbiton. I
Yeah.
would kick his butt into gear and get him super organized. Like
right.
Hobbiton would be delightful and
that.
really
You'd hang out under the Malorn tree too.
Yeah,
That's right.
you know?
And I mean, that's what you do. You organize everything.
Yeah.
And I think
Samwise
that-
would have this like daily
very loyal.
itinerary for his
The-
forestry work, right?
You know what's so funny though is like I'm only this organized for you guys. Like no part of my life is this organized. Ask my husband.
So, guys, it has been a pleasure and an honor to have you on the Voices of Arda. Thank you so much for just coming and sharing your knowledge and your thoughts and what you got going on, because it really matters to the community. You are people that we look up to and we revere, so thank you very much. I want to thank Belmont so much for stepping in and hosting with me, man. You are a light in the darkness, my friend.
Get the applause going again.
All right, let's
Yeah.
get that. Yeah, man. So hopefully we'll do a lot more podcasts from the studio space. Shout out to Studio Labs for letting us do this here. You know what I'm saying? So thank you once again, and
Thank
we
you.
will
This is awesome.
talk to you guys very soon. Make sure you sign up for the Signum Collaboratory. Make sure you
right.
watch Rings and Realms. Make sure you take classes at Signum University. And as always, man, Michael Vaughn.
Awesome.
All right.
Yay! That was so fun.